Hello, everyone. This is Byron Wade, your General Presbyter, and today I'm here at the home of Bill Neely. Bill Neely is a retired minister of the Presbytery, and he also served on the Revisioning Task Force. So today we're going to have a little conversation about his thoughts about the process and maybe some things that, if you're a first-time viewer of the report, some things you may want to think about or maybe questions you may ask. So thank you, Bill, for inviting me to your house.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Sure.
Byron, and for trusting me with this process.
Sure. So first question I have for you is, how was your experience on the Revisioning Task Force?
Well, as you know, Byron, when you agreed to come as the General Presbyter, I promised to help you. And I think probably 2 months or the first Presbyterian meeting, you came up to me and said, "Okay, Bill, I want you to be on a revisioning task force for the Presbytery." And I almost said no, but then I remembered I promised to help you. So I felt like I was hooked. And so, but the last 2.5 years, or a little more now, I guess, in 2.5 years, it's been an interesting process. It's been an enlightening process. And in many ways, it's been fun because I've enjoyed getting to know the other members of the task force. People I had heard about either through Wanda or because this was my first trip into this presbytery. And I think that as we did the process, some things changed. And so we had to be flexible. It's taken us a little more time. But I think we've come out with a good vision and a flexible vision for the Presbytery. That's what I hope it is. It's not set in stone. It allows the ministries of the Presbytery to be empowered and not to be hemmed in.
Okay. Well, speaking of the process, you were instrumental in putting together the new design with the new teams and their ministries. Tell me about that.
Well, when I looked at the structure of the Presbytery the first time, I thought, this is really kind of top down. It's a very bureaucratic structure, which presbyteries were. And when I first came into the Presbyterian Church, we had big staffs, and a lot of what drove our governing bodies, General Assembly, Synod, and Presbytery, and even sessions in churches, was staff driven. But as anyone who's in a congregation in our Presbytery knows, staffs have been cut. So our programming, our ministry has to be driven not so much by staff, but by individuals, by members. And everyone who's a member of a congregation in the Presbytery of Western North Carolina is a member of the Presbytery. Mm-hmm. Now, they may not realize that, but they are. The Presbytery is us. And we said that several times in our Presbytery presentation on the floor of Presbytery, reminding people that the Presbytery is us, all of us. And that if we're going to do the ministry that God's calling us to, it has to be done by us. So as I looked at the structure, I said, how can we design a structure that is driven by the congregants, by the members of the Presbytery, not by the staff of the Presbytery? And so I hope that's what we've done. And I also thought, well, there are things we don't want to give up, but there are things that we don't have to do all the time, and that we can park those under a ministry team, and the ministry team can say, well, this is something we need to pick up this year and do, or this is something that we don't need to spend our energy on this year, but we need to spend our energy over here. And so we've come up with 5 ministry teams, and hopefully those teams will be guided by the power of the Spirit and by the desire of what God is calling us as a presbytery to do. So that's what I hope, that we built a very flexible structure that can be energized from the grassroots or the ground up and not by the top down.
All right, well, sounds good. Well, last question I have for you is, I know we gave a report back in April of this year. Let's say you're an elder or you're a minister looking at this plan or report for the very first time. What do you think some of the questions may be?
I know what some of the questions are because I've had people ask me those questions. I think concerns, let me put it that way. I think the concern is, let's make sure we don't drop our social justice people emphasis in this presbytery. And in our process, we went back to the mission statement of the presbytery. What is it that we believe God is calling us to do? And one of the things is that we said that we are called to strengthen our congregations and the individuals in those congregations to be who God's calling them to be. We're called to equip disciples, to give them the tools that they need to do the ministry to which God is calling us. And we're called to engage our communities. And so that there is a strong presence of Presbyterians in the communities within the bounds of our presbytery. And that presence is there not because we desire to make everybody Presbyterian, but because we desire to make our communities places that are healthy and that grow up people into who God is calling us to be.
All right.
Not converting them to what we think they ought to be, but helping them become what God is calling them to be.
All right. Well, thank you, Bill. I greatly appreciate your time. So you've heard it from Bill, another one of the members of the Revisioning Task Force. So as was said before, we did give a report back in April at our Presbytery meeting, and I hope that you're taking the opportunity to review the report for any questions or concerns or affirmations that you have. If you have any of those, please make sure that you reach out to me, bwade@presbyterywnc.org, so we can hear your concerns. I will share that with the Revisioning Task Force as we prepare, hopefully, our second and final report to the July Presbytery meeting. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bill, for your hospitality. Thank you for listening and watching, and look forward to seeing you soon. May God bless.